Thanks very much. Let's go on to another question now, because we've got many questions here. Mohammed Ali Akram, let's have your question, please.
Should transgender women be allowed on an all-females list for elections?
Should transgender women be allowed on all-female lists? This is a proposal for the Labour Party on their all-female list to allow anyone who identifies himself as a woman to stand on all-women shortlists. Shama Chakrabarti, just set out the position as you see it.
Yes.
Okay.
I am a feminist, and I'm a member of a feminist party that actually has all-women shortlists, for a start. But I am not the sex or the gender police. Maybe I'm not woman enough for some people's taste, but I call myself a woman. Maybe I'm not British enough for some people's taste, but I am British. I am not going to be policing the boundaries between sex and gender and telling any woman that she is not welcome with me. And the Labour Party is an inclusive party where hundreds of thousands of people come together, despite their various beginnings and their various journeys, to stand up against discrimination and oppression. And that's why I think we've got it right on this.
James Cleverly.
As much as Charmy is very proud of the fact that her party does have all-women shortlists, I'm very proud of the fact that my party does not have all-women shortlists, but has currently, we're now on our second female Prime Minister, so I think we're pretty, I think we're pretty much calling it right on that one. My view is that because I'm a conservative, not despite, but because I am a conservative, I believe very, very strongly in people's right to live the life that they want to live, to pursue happiness in whichever way gives them the best chance to pursue happiness. As I say, I'm not going to make a comment on all women shortlists because we don't have them, and I think it would be unfair to do so. But I don't want to give away a secret, but Paris and I were discussing just before we came on air that I think at some point in the not very distant future, we will look back at much of this debate with the same bemusement that we will look back at much of the debate that was had about homosexuality in the 50s, 60s and 70s. I look forward to that point in time. There are trans boys and trans girls at the school that my 15-year-old and 13-year-old sons go to, and it causes no hassle whatsoever. The generations that are coming along behind us just don't get why we are getting so very het up about this particular issue.
Peter Hitchens.
Yeah, you can round it.
Well, I don't think anybody should have all women shortlists. I think the whole idea of closing or opening any such thing as the entry into politics or the entry into a job on the grounds of what sex somebody is, or indeed the grounds of what colour somebody is outrageous to me. I am a person of the 1960s, and we completely believe that people should be judged on only one characteristic, the one stipulated by Martin Luther King in his great speech, which is the content of his or her character. I don't want to know anything else. And I think in judging whether people are fit to be selected for Parliament or any other thing, that is what you should be looking for. And the whole apparatus of all women shortlists and the rest of it seems to me to be an outrage against that principle, and we should abandon it.
Okay. Hold on. Paris, you'll know that a group's been formed by Labour members called Keep All Women Shortlists Female. What do you make of that, and what is your view?
I just don't know if I've got a lot to say on this particular question, David.
You surprise me.
Thank you so much for asking this question. Trans people are less than 1% of the population, right? And I don't know about you, but it seems like we're in the headlines every single day, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that we're responsible for all of the world's ills. Constantly, the debate about trans issues, trans people are framed as the problem. We're causing these huge problems to the rest of society. The sky's going to fall in. Whereas all of the evidence suggests that the complete opposite is true and that actually trans people suffer horrific violence. 45% of young trans people in this country, in modern Britain, have attempted suicide. Not thought about, attempted. I think we need an urgent public debate on who and what is causing these kids to feel so desperate and alone, and what we can do about it to protect them. Anything that a trans person does that is bad or could be perceived to be a problem to people, we hear about it in the headlines. Schools say that they're going to relax their gender policy, their policy for school uniforms. It's the end of the world. Kids are actually sitting there trying to kill themselves. Nobody talks about it. And you'll notice that I'm a transgender person. I am the only transgender person who's ever been on Question Time, because the conversation about us is conducted over our heads. It doesn't actually include the people who this conversation affects directly. And it's really interesting because Peter actually doesn't believe that trans people's identities should be respected. You wrote a piece for the Mail on Sunday criticising a school because they supported a child. You didn't think that they should be referred to with the correct pronouns. So you called that, referring to a trans person, are you referring to me with female pronouns? You said that that was an attack on truth itself, just simple, basic manners. And I think that that's what a lot of this comes down to, really. But
come to Mohammed's question.
The question of all women shortlist. It's so odd to me because in my everyday life, I'm respected as a woman. You know, people in shops refer to me as Miss, increasingly Madam now. Thanks for that. Give it a few years. My boyfriends have all been guys who've never dated a transgender woman before. Their families have accepted me. My friends accept me. My colleagues accept me. I go online and I see these awful, awful people purporting to be feminists. You know, you would literally think that I was Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator. And, you know, it's... bigotry is bigotry, whether it's dressed up as religion, whether it's dressed up as feminism. And these same legitimate concerns that we're hearing, I think some people do have legitimate concerns, but I think there's a very loud, vocal minority who are manipulating people's concerns in the same way that people did about the fear around gay teachers and linking it with paedophilia in the 1980s. And I think it's absolutely disgusting.
OK. You say... Yeah.
We're only debating this here tonight because we have allowed blatant discrimination on the basis of sex to become a criteria for nominations to Parliament by one particular party. It should never have been allowed in the first place. Every opportunity should be open to everybody, man, woman, trans, whoever you are, it should be open to you. And it should be complete, and it should be banned immediately, and we can just put all these sorts of debates to bed because it's just going to cause social problems down the road.
Shortlist should be banned. The all-woman shortlist.
The all-woman shortlist should be banned. Where I'm from, I could not be a Labour Party candidate.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Dewsbury and Batley area.
Yeah.
I think it's a massive injustice. We cannot claim to be a fair society and allow this to be a part of our parliamentary democracy.
Mohammed, with respect, the reason why I disagree with that position and Peter's is that the status quo on this planet is not meritocracy. And women have been the bottom of the pile on this planet for thousands of years. Now, I respect James's party for having produced 2 women prime ministers, but prime ministers by themselves are not enough. And it's only because of all women shortlists that Labour now has more women in Parliament than all the other parties put together. And we're still not 50% yet.
OK. Was it you who asked the question? Yeah. Where's Mohammed? Yes, what's your view?
Well, I just want to say that females, transgender females are females, and I don't want to listen to a bunch of people saying, a bunch of so-called feminists, when they're supposed to be for females, but they're not for females because they're saying these transgender women aren't females. So I don't want to support that. And Shami, I agree with your point. There's a disproportionate amount of females in Parliament, and we need all women shortlists to get more females in Parliament, because that's the way we get equality and we get females' voices being heard.
Stuart McDonald.
Well, it's a self-evident truth that
The
trans
SNP
women...
have anything like this? in the way
Trans
of-
women are women. Yeah, we made a change in our party conference, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, to bring in, make it easier for women to have women shortlists where, for example, if I was to stand down from my seat, it would probably be an all-women shortlist that would replace me. But trans women are women, and I'm an openly gay man. The trans community have stood with gay and bisexual men and lesbians for decades. It's about time we get the finger out and showed them the same solidarity that they've shown us. And trans people face some of the most poisonous discrimination imaginable across the country. And I think that if we're going to... Paris is absolutely right that the conversation around this is very familiar to the conversations that were had around the early days of gay liberation and the comparison of gay men to paedophiles in schools and all the rest of it. We need to learn from this kind of history. And can I say as well that it is a real privilege and honour to sit beside Paris tonight, who has done immense work to tackle this, and all power to you.
And can I just add one final thank you for the show of solidarity. And the issue of all women shortlists is one thing, but we do need to get more women into politics. But the solution is not bashing trans women. And there's some really mean bullying being carried out under the name of feminism. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we actually all pulled together? Because it's not a slice of the pie where it's like trans rights are at the expense of women's rights. That's not how rights work. That's not how equality works.
Right. All right. We'll go on. Thank you very much. Michael Whitcock, let's have yours.
Is it time for Europe to turn its back on Russia?